Howdy, folks. Welcome into the Smite Challenger Circuit. We find ourselves here in Europe. You got Dimes, you got Spooky. We're joined by a whole host of characters making the stream happen. Shout out to production and spectator. Spooky, we've got, I feel like I say this every time we cast the European SEC, but we've got a crazy 3-game set coming up. It's going to be Mambo, it's going to be Tanuki, and there's so many powerful teams that can put up a true fight over in Europe. That, we just have to say, we got a crazy set going on. But I think Mambo Tanuki really does have the potential to go all three.
I mean, really, they all have potential to go all three when it comes to Europe. But yeah. I don't know. Both these teams are powerhouses, like you said. They both have a lot of potential. But it's to the point where I think either of these teams could also easily make it a 2-0 victory. They're both extremely dominant when they're looking good. And Hex Mambo in particular has a lot of star power behind it from the SEC scene. I mean, these are guys you've seen all the time. And Tanuki, of course, does have some of that same name power going for them. But you look at the Mambo, you see Julio, you see Dzoni next to him. Like, both these guys have quite the repertoire built up over time. Either way, we're in for a hell of a show.
And it all kicks off with P's and B's. Spookaloop, let's head into picks and bans here for game number 1. I mean, I'm kind of just like expecting meta all the way. Right, I'm expecting the same bans that we've seen in the first week of the SEC. Maybe, I mean, if we're lucky, we could see maybe that Johnny Loki ban. Do you think that's a possibility, or
not in game 1?
What are your thoughts? Yeah,
I don't think anyone's banning the Loki way in game 1. Yes, it's a signature Johnny pick, but Johnny is just a good jungler overall. Like,
no way.
If he was in NA, he would be in the SPL. That's just how it breaks down there. Johnny has so many picks he can go to. You can't afford to be just banning out the Loki, especially when things like this Pele, like this Ratatoskr are so prevalent. You have to put the attention over there where really he can just take away a game and just run the entire show. But Freya is left open. Ulrun also available on the other side. See both those magical ADCs available. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them locked in response to each other. Freya, obviously, a little bit more prioritized right now, so she gets the lock-in from Mambo. Good support still open as well. There it is. There's the Athena I was going to talk about. No ADC for Yomi just yet. Athena and Thor being looked at. It's a lot of global pressure coming from the Tanukis already.
You add in I mean, last week we saw what? It was Ratatoskr, Giannis, and one other global ultimate, a Chernobog or something. And the rotation pressure was literally unmatchable, right? You could easily move to objectives. They're going to have to watch that Giannis coming in for the Yomi Tanuki here. Pikarino able to pick up that Giannis, no problem. As Tyr and Susano are looking to be the next 2 picks here for the Mambo. Not exactly, I mean, when I've been thinking about meta and pick priority, support has been near the top. ADC has been near the top. A little bit of flexibility there. But Tyr and Susano certainly don't jump into my mind when I think of picking the top 3.
No, I was actually expecting a Ganesha pickup here for the Mambo. Plays very well into the Thor. Plays pretty decently into the Athena as well. Good play. Not so bad into Anhur as well. That's a very aggressive pick, which I like. Anhur has a very good early game. Try to take advantage of the weaker point of Freya's game. Ganesh, unsurprisingly, banned away, as he does just kind of stop Thor from doing Thor things. Surprised Mambo prioritizes this tier so heavily in this top 3. I mean, yes, you look at the bans, Amma and Sun Wukong are both gone. Those are your typical top solo laners right now. But to me, that just means you can wait quite a while to pick up your solo laner. They must have quite a lot of faith in this tier pick. Maybe something they've been screaming, maybe something they've been practicing and working on, that they just think it's too effective to let go in this top 3.
So now, as Yomi consider their pick, and it looks like it's going to be this Baba Yaga heading into the middle lane, which is kind of curious. Raijin is still on the table, right? Does the Mambo just go like straight Terra here? Do you just slam the Terra? I mean, Kuzenbo's seen a little bit of play. I'm racking my brains here trying to think of who else has been picked up with consistency. And Terra,
still an
maybe
Ares
like a Kabrakan. The Ares, oh yeah, of course, the Ares is on the table as well. Okay, the 3-headed doggo being hovered here. Not typically one of the picks we see taken into support, and with Tyr already locked in for solo, I mean, that tells me that this is heading into the hands of Cozyx.
Tyr support.
Oh, you think? Are you? All right. Is this a classic spooky Jokerino, or
It is not a
is
tier
there?
support, brother.
Are you sure?
I am 95% sure that this is not a tier support. If you're
All right.
picking one of these two to be your support, it's got to be Cerberus. You at least got Prot Shred, do have a stun.
Sure.
It's a little bit hard to land consistently, but it is there. Stygian Torment, also just very good for Engage or Peel. Cerberus is absolutely the better support of these two here. This Daji lock-in. It's going to be a Thor solo here, Dime. Something we've been seeing quite frequently. Not too surprised to see it here. I've actually been seeing more Thor solo than we have in the jungle in recent days. It's just the semi-global presence he's able to offer on top of the mobility from a jungler also existing in the game makes such good things happen for the Tanuki's draft. We'll have to see how it works out. Right now, it's looking very good for them.
We got globals on both sides of the map here for the Yomi Tanuki. Hex Mambo pick something a little unorthodox, but feel confident. Let's head into game number 1, see how it all pans out here, Spooky. Something I do want to chit-chat about while we get going here, this Thor tier Julio OgiBre matchup, right? I mean, we're not seeing a ton of tier over in the solo lane. Seeing, like you said, a lot more Thor taken onto the right side of the map here. I mean, the clear obviously goes the way of the tier, but what can OgiBre do to fight back into it?
All OgiBre really needs to do is stay neutral in the lane. You don't pick this Thor because you're trying to win the lane hard. You pick it because you're wanting to get to a point where you can rotate out and just be more present on the map than the other solo laner. If you're able to hit level 8 and you're even, that's winning for OgiBre. The draft itself is what gives Tanuki an advantage in this matchup. As long as he's not dying to Julio dives on cooldown, OgiBre's feeling pretty good about how that lane's going. He might be losing a wave or two now and then, but that's within the parameters for this Thor pick.
I would feel remiss, Spooky, here if we're not talking about Dzoni. I mean, maybe the best player. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So we've got a rookie stepping up here into this Hex Mambo squad for the very first time. No, all jokes aside, Dzoni, one of the very top, if not the top player in the world, I think it's pretty fair to say. And StreakUp's not afraid to challenge Cozyx here in this duo lane. Whoa, great double move there.
Damage.
Actually, StreakUp and Calvìn caught in a tight spot. The Poisonous Spit going to connect with StreakUp. Lock down the Anhur for just a moment, but I mean, Spudio at 1 minute in the game, certainly not enough auto attack damage on that Freya to make anything happen. But anyways, I want to talk about Dzoni here. If you are Yomi Tanuki, how are you navigating this Susano pick, right? Because I feel like if Susano gets, revving early, that can be a game over situation for the Tanuki. So how are you playing it if you're the Tanuki staring into the face of Sap and Dzoni?
Honestly, Tanuki just needs to do their own thing here. Hang on. Keep an eye on that right side. Dzoni is making a rotation over. Calvin's already here along with Apreel. Not going to have too many fireworks there just yet. But this is what I like to see from the Tanuki. They just need to be playing their own game plan, right? Their draft is already good at dealing with the Susano. Apreel makes an early rotation. He's not looking to fight into Sap and Dzoni in the mid lane. Pikarino needs to get out of there.
Pikarino's low on mana, has enough for the blast off,
There it is.
able to escape to the safety of the tower. No problem there. Continue your thought here, Spook.
Yeah, and that's what makes this Tanuki draft so effective at dealing with Dzoni, right? It's the difficulty of getting the Susano on a pick and locking them down. If he goes on to Pikarino, Cauldron Jump, Home Sweet Home, both are good safety tools, which will do a lot to mitigate what Johnny's able to do on that gank. Real. So looking for another gank. He's staying very active in this game. If you notice, Dzoni has spent quite a few rotations going through mid lane, put a little bit of pressure onto Pikarino, then going back to his camps. Apreel is doing the exact opposite of that. He's looking at the side lanes and not really looking to engage with Dzoni in a mid 2v2. Yes, still taking his camps, but he knows he doesn't win that fight right now. So they're not trying to force anything into Dzoni, and that's exactly how they want to play it. Play around your CC. If you hit Calvìn in a fight, Dzoni doesn't get to do anything because that taunt will not only stop his entire combo, it'll pull him way out of position, and it can easily turn things around for the Tanukis.
Little off the mark there with the Impale with StreakUp. Might have seen potential. That's a hyper-aggressive lane, though. I mean, Anhur, Athena, that's like an old-school lane. That's like a dive-in taunt. Pillar, Impale, Desert Fury, bye-bye enemy ADC. But we have a couple seconds here before level 5 ticks over on the table for StreakUp and for Spudio, who can head into that sky with the Valkyrie's discretion to escape any kind of aggression on the left-hand side. Apreel's made the rotation once again. Same thing goes for Dzoni moving in on this shield buff, which has been a highly prioritized target on the left side of the lane here. Pikarino also kind of hovering around this duo lane side of the map. Poseidon still in the middle lane. Apreel up in the air, looking to torture Calvìn, who goes into the Defender of Olympus there. Knock up, a great tornado out.
And Dzoni now in some danger. Cozyx
roaming around. I was kind of seeing there. It seems like a weird pathing there from Cozyx. I was going to wait to call anything, and he just kind of walks back into 3 and goes down for the first kill of the game. Yomi Tanuki pick up first blood.
Such an odd fight from the Mambo there. Starts
Very
off
strange.
Pretty well. They get to catch Apreel out, put some good damage into him, force the powwow out. At that point, they can kind of just disengage because they've already gotten their small win there. Now, they do time their ultimates well. Spudio goes up into Valkyrie's discretion right as that pull comes in. So he gets the full immunity and puts a bunch of damage back out into the Tanuki. But they overstay their welcome there, Dimes. They try to fight a little bit too hard, a little bit too long. And then the pathing from Cozyx back into danger was just not it. I see what he was trying to do. He was trying to regroup with his team and make sure that Dzoni could get out. But he was too low at that point. And once you reach those health thresholds, it becomes a game of, okay, I'm getting out. Good luck with your retreat. I hope you do well. If not, I guess I'll see you in base in a few seconds here. It's unfortunate, and you would always rather the support die than the jungler. But in a situation like that, you just run the risk of both dying, and frankly, they both could have gotten out with the way things were going for them. As it stands now, Tanuki have a slight lead. We're in this dual lane. First blood goes their way. Gonna get some extra shield pressure. Over on the right side, fight's still going on.
Thor up in the air, looking to smash down. What a great dodge there out of Dzoni. Julio slams down onto Apreel for a return kill. Evens this game up at 1-1. Here comes Dzoni back in the fray. OgiBre able to get out of dodge there with the hammer, locking down Cozyx. Dzoni still on the attack, though. Already used the teleport to catch up to OgiBre. One more hammer is going to get the Thor out of any further danger there. And it's just going to be 1-1. Cozyx is not done. Pikarino's making the rotation in, though, at about a quarter HP. Cerberus can only look on and be like, okay, yeah, maybe not. But importantly there, did you see Calvìn at the tail end of that fight using the Athena ultimate? That's going to be down for a hot second.
Yeah, Cozyx steps way out of position. I'm very surprised he went that far in the chase. But it ended up baiting out an ult from Calvìn, which honestly makes it worth. They end up getting the kill onto Apreel, pull an ult from Calvìn, and they have OgiBre's ult down for a little bit longer as well. They just took a lot of this pressure off the map from the Tanukis. They're able to answer back with a little bit of their own. A little bit unfortunate they weren't able to secure that kill. It was an excellent Berserker's Barrage from OgiBre to get that knock-up immunity and prevent the Typhoon from locking him down further. But I think we're seeing a little bit of the strength of this tier pick in the composition the Mambo have right now. The CC chain that they can put out is crazy. And a lot of it is non-DRable, right? You cannot have diminishing returns on knockups. You've got them on tier. You've got them on the Susano. You even have them really on this Poseidon as well when the Kraken comes out. There is a lot working in favor of this Mambo draft. It takes a little bit of time for it to actually come together. I think this is a little bit later game of a team than the Tanukis have. You can kind of see that with how aggressive the Tanukis have been. They've been kind of looking for these fights, been playing around this left side, trying to get that shield buff going the way of their dual lane. So if they can get this on her ahead of Spudio, that's a lot of aggression to come through. And they're going for a Go Fury here already. No vision from the Mambo just yet.
Oh man, Cozyx spots out the rotation here from the mid laner and the jungler. Dzoni also in the area. Apreel falling low. Apreel forced up into the ultimate. Does snag Dzoni on the tail end there. Cozyx locked down as well. Here comes Sap. Whirlpool down. The Kraken is going to knock out Apreel. First blood in this fight drawn to Hex Mambo. Spudio makes that a second for the Order Squad. Go Fury goes down, Spooky. Who did it go to?
It did go to the Tanukis. They are still ahead in this game right now. But StreakUp goes over the Desert Fury. Defender of Olympus comes down. Unlucky, Cozyx is here in the air. Stygian Torment.
Return kill back onto Calvìn. One support that starts with a C takes out another one. It's going to be a 1-for-1, but I mean, Spudio for Calvin's not even close. That one goes the way of the Yomi Tanuki all day long.
Yeah, for sure. And that now solidifies that Gold Fury as being in favor of the Tanuki. They get the Fury, drop 2 kills, but now they answer 1 back. They're still in the lead. It's not a big one so far. Mambo have more kills. They've got plenty of fight back. Their counter engagements have been great so far. Tanuki are building themselves up a lead right now. They're making plays on the map. They're not sitting passively and just allowing the Mambo to scale up. And that's the most critical part of their draft. They have to be proactive on this game right now. Now with beacons coming to the question relatively soon here, should start to see some groupings coming from both sides. You can see the Tanukis are very active moving across this board. They're centering themselves in this left side, pretty much making just sure their farm is always down, and they have opportunities to look over at these Gold Furies, at this duo lane. So if you allow Spudio to come online, it's going to be a hard game for you. They've done a good job of putting pressure down, taking XP away from him so far. But they've only taken 1 death to Spudio so far. It's not really the dominant performance you want to see from this Anhur so far. I expect maybe a little bit more attention being paid over there, try to get StreakUp a little bit further ahead.
Well, Spooky, we're running up on 10 minutes here in just a few seconds. Hex Mambo lagging a little bit in the gold department, but not enough to write home about. Up in kills, but I mean, that doesn't really matter. It's more about what you've been able to accomplish with throwing some kills on the board, which is not much in the way of Hex Mambo. Looking at these kills, I mean, they're spread out here across the team. 1 on every single member, except maybe the one person you want to get going early. Spudio forced into the air. Apreel with a simple rotation is going to knock out that ultimate. Sap also falling low. It's going to be a 4-piece from the Yomi Tanuki on the left side of the map. Cozyx is dropping low. What a whoop out of Spudio to protect the support. Dzoni able to get out as well. Apreel up in the air. One's not going to hit. The second Palau is going to connect with Dzoni. Beads away. And now a full-on retreat here from the Yomi Tanuki, forcing out Hex Mambo. Ooh, Pikarino almost picking up Dzoni on the tail end. Unfortunately, though, Spooky, I mean, what a great fight, forcing out the Hex Mambo. Yomi Tanuki with wonderful presence there in the dual lane. But here's the deal. There is nothing to capitalize on. Like, maybe you press this left side tier 1, but Spudio's right there. The tier 1 in the middle lane tower is not even going to be looked at or touched. Gold Fury's down. Pyromancer's down. I mean, what do you do with that pressure you just gained?
You look to invade, find out that all of the Mambo's camps are still down as well. And you say, well, gee, that kind of sucks. We didn't really get anything out of this one. They did take the beads from Dzoni, though. I think that's the biggest victory they had there. Dzoni does not have any CC immunity in the kit on the Susano. So now with this beacon coming up, he's a lot more vulnerable in these fights. They may not get anything directly off of that fight, but it does give them an opportunity to find this beacon. And if the Mambo steps forward, they try to contest it, they have a very clear and easy target. Spudio, also no ultimate just yet, should be coming up before the beacon is really a factor here. The Tanuki have gotten themselves a slight window. You just have to be able to actually use it. And with the grouping you see in the mid lane there, they're moving their way towards that beacon. Doesn't look like a Mambo is really going to do much to stop it here. Cozyx taking a good amount of damage, though.
I mean, Apreel's going in. Apreel's not done with us. Whoa, that wave chunked Apreel down to half HP. Grabbing Dzoni, no CC immunity, but a return Kraken is going to force Apreel into the back of the fight. Here comes OgiBre crashing down. Great Thor water lock in Cozyx. Pikarino putting the finishing touches on the support. 1-0 thus far for the Yomi Tanuki, but we're in the same spot here. Gold Fury up this time, grouping in the middle lane here from the Yomi Tanuki. Kraken is down, so a giant secure tool off the table for the Mambo. It doesn't, from the movements on the map, the Yomi Tanuki not even going to look at this Primal Fury. Happy to walk away with a kill.
3 ults down. Not really feeling like they want to step up to this Fury right now. OgiBre opts to return back to the right side of the map, get his solo lane farm. Doesn't want to fall too far behind. They do get themselves the beacon, which was what the fight started over. Spudio, oh my god, is he going to get solo? No, he's up in the Valkyrie's discretion, but here comes Calvìn. All right, Dzoni is here. They're not going to make that dive just yet. But so far, Dimes, this game has been a rotational difference. Tanuki is moving pretty much everywhere. Oh my god. Moving everywhere together. the Mambo is consistently just getting caught out, right? It's a couple people are in the area, but they're so spread out, they can't actually do anything together. They're not fighting as a unit. See, Cozyx is just getting melted because he's stepping up to 2 people by himself. Like,
and I wanted to talk about this with you, Spooky. It seems like every fight the Yomi Tanuki starts, you know who it starts with? It starts with Cozyx. It starts with Cozyx getting chunked down and, like, fast. Only 2 items online, got a stacked gauntlet, whatever. But Cozyx is not as tanky, I think, as they think they are. They step up a little bit too far.
They never are.
They get... Say what?
The supports never are as tanky as they think they are.
Well, sometimes they are. I mean, sometimes supports just don't die, or at least the games I play, it seems like they never die, and then I step
You
far,
gotta hit them.
and then I die. Anyways, point being, it starts with Cozyx every single time. I mean, how do you clean up that play? Do you have to play that far forward if you're the Cerberus? Do you have a choice?
Yeah, you do have a choice. And no, you don't have to play that far forward. Crazily enough, you can elect to play back by your team. Calvìn going in for Spudio here. Might be looking for the solo kill, but Spudio's got some fight back.
All right, so Spooky, here's a definition for you. A solo kill indicates a one-on-one. There's clearly 2 members in the duo.
No, Spudio
is
only has one person.
Oh, you're so right. But here comes Ogi crashing down. Oh, what a whoop to immune the wall for just a second. Unfortunately, one more auto attack is going to kill Spudio. What a reaction time there from the ADC for the Mambo. And guess what? Cozyx caught out once again. All right, that wasn't caught out. You know what? I'm not going to call Cozyx out like that. Yomi Tanuki step forward. Cozyx was properly positioned there. Now it's 5 members of the Yomi Tanuki taking a look here at this Fury. Sap's made the rotation around. Calvìn dropping low. Julio on the back end, going to pick up the support. Sap with the Whirlpool down. Kraken already. No, Kraken is still in the pocket here. Apreel takes out Sap, but turns it right back around. A kill after the death. Revenge from the grave there. StreakUp knocked into the air, knocked up into the grave by Dzoni. It's going to be a 3-for-1 already. Hex Mambo coming out way on top in this engagement. Primal Fury staring down the eyes of Hex Mambo here. Julio, half HP. Dzoni looking just fine. But no, it's not going to be the Primal Fury. It's just going to be a reset here from the Hex Mambo.
They just don't have any shred. Sap 7 fell in the fight. Spudio fell right before it. They don't have anything to actually take that Primal Fury down with. And with Pikarino still on the board, there's way too much burst for them to try to go for the objective and just have it stolen out from under them. It's a good fight from the Mambo, and crazily enough, it happens when they actually come together and fight as 4 people there. Tanuki expended just a little bit too much killing Spudio. Spudio gave them so much time to get into position. It's actually so tragic that he fell, because he played it just about as well as anyone could have there. Timed his Valkyrie's discretion perfectly, got the whoop off at the exact time he needed to, even sidesteps the wall to make sure he doesn't get stunned. At the end of the day, though, there's just too much thrown at him. But every single thing that gets thrown at Spudio is just one more tool that's not available for the fight afterwards. And apparently it's just not going to matter, Dimes, because the Tanukis are right back on the Primal Fury, whereas the Mambo is in mid lane, I guess? We're just not warding the objectives, I guess.
I mean, that's just Smite 101, Spooky. You take the Pyro, we'll take the gold. And Hex Mambo, I mean, they know that. It's like literally baked into their bones. They've been playing Smite this long. They had to know that was going to go down. Didn't send anybody over to check on that Fury. And Hex Mambo, I mean, evened it up a little bit with that fight in the Pyro, but Yomi Tanuki pulled right back ahead with the neutral objective. And checking out XP around the map, I mean, even, little bit of a lead for Mambo, but 2-level lead for support, just about even in the ADC role as well. I mean, Yomi Tanuki have this slight lead here holding up into Hex Mambo despite losing the last couple of fights in a row here. And checking out the charts there, XP, I mean, dang near even for all intents and purposes. Gold headed the way of the Yomi Tanuki. What's the look here for both these squads? Like, if you're the Tanuki, if you're the Mambo, is it that FG? Is it a group in the jungle? I mean, what are you really looking to accomplish to break this game open one way or the other?
Mambo wants Spudio at level 20. That's the biggest thing for them. That's their biggest win condition. If Spudio gets to 20 and comes fully online, they win fights after that. Cozyx can be 2 levels down, and it won't matter as long as they have a fully enabled Freya to just deal out the damage. Tanukis wants to get active and secure themselves a lead before that happens. Their window is closing for that, And they do have some good tools to deal with Spudio as well. But it's a matter of forcing out the Valkyrie's discretion first. Until that's down, Apreel can't do his job. He cannot blow up this Freya, because if you try to, she's going to turn around, she's going to lifesteal on you, and then she's going to go into the Valkyrie's discretion. And look, now we're going to have a little 1v1, and StreakUp can't win that. Oh my god!
Oh, StreakUp is absolutely 100% of the time never surviving that. Spudio with a couple of auto attacks takes down StreakUp to half HP. Dzoni there just to put the finishing touches. I mean, a bow on top of that destruction. That was gross out of Spudio. And you can see that, I mean, the demonic grip online, you could see that third ring, what really happens and why Freya was first picked here for the Hex Mambo. Now the tier 1 tower going to get chunked a little bit here out of Spudio. And once again, objectives, I mean, both these squads are doing a great job of clearing objectives off the board. And I don't just mean neutral objectives. I mean jungle camps. I mean harpies as well. Yeah. So even when one of these squads does find a numbers advantage, there's really not much to grab in the way of map pressure.
There's also the fact that Mambo has the magical ADC, which is not quite as good at burning down towers and objectives as your traditional hunters are, especially one like Freya, who relies on a stim for her basic attacks to really be effective. It's not like the Soul or the Ola run where you're just constantly throwing out range basics and they're sometimes doing crits if you're Ola run. You have specific windows that this Freya comes online during, and the later game goes, the smaller those downtimes are. But when it comes to pushing down tier 1 towers, it's a little bit slower than your traditional hunter is, as we saw right up there. And that's a little bit why Mambo's lagging behind at the gold department, is they can't push these things down quite as quickly. But as I've mentioned so many times here, Dimes, the longer this game goes, the less that matters, because eventually they will just strip these towers away. We're now approaching 20.5 minutes. This game is dead even, and that's right where the Mambo wants things to be. This is perfect for them. They still have to be very careful, though, because as we mentioned before, the composition for Tanuki is able to put out a lot of pressure. We haven't really seen them do a whole lot of cross-map plays so far. We haven't seen Calvìn making those Defender of Olympus ults across the map and having OgiBre just dunk down on someone. A little scouting ult here. OgiBre's just going to fall back from there.
Yeah, I mean, whenever a Thor goes up in the air in lane, you probably know it's not going to crash back down in the lane. A little bit telegraphed there out of OgiBre, like you said, more of a heat check, a scouting match than anything. You know, you bring up this kind of the weak push out of the magical ADC, but I'm looking at this now serrated, edged up Dzoni, who's going to be 3-tapping towers with the amount of penetration in the Susano build. Pyromets are going down. The OgiBre locked down in the Kraken. Yank back in as well. Apreel in the backline. Defender of Olympus being channeled. Spudio takes out OgiBre to kick off the fight. Sap is now the target for the Pale. Gets pulled back in. Apreel has knocked down the mid laner, but only after the Kraken is expended. Dzoni in the backline being an absolute menace as Apreel is taken down by Spudio, who finds a second kill in the engagement. Julio dashing in, StreakUp forcing the beads as well. Dzoni on Calvìn just trying to separate the duo lane here of the Yomi Tanuki, who are backing out of the danger zone. Julio with one swipe forces StreakUp and Calvìn under the tier 2 tower. Only Fire Giant on the map here, but the Hex Mambo have clearly forced out the Yomi Tanuki. 3 kills to 1, only Sap falls, and the Kraken used already, so not too much DPS left on the table there for Sap. I mean, it's engagement after engagement, Spooky, where Hex Mambo are finding team fights. I want to switch to the other side. If you're the Yomi Tanuki, how are you fighting things differently to come out on top in these 5v5 engagements?
Honestly, if I'm the Yomi Tanuki, I'm not looking for a full 5-on-5. I'm looking to try to force a 5v4. Send StreakUp to a different part of the map, or better yet, send Apreel or OgiBre, someone who can just push a lane down and still have the ability to get somewhere else on the map. OgiBre has the Anvil of Dawn, so you can have him push down this right side and just put pressure on these towers. And then if you see the Mambo try to step forward to you, okay, he can Thor dunk up, come down on the back, or better yet, if he forces a response, he just leaves and goes to the fight. Sap, a little bit of trouble here, but the Palo completely misses?
Oh, Apreel off the mark with that ultimate. I mean, Sap was dead to rights there. Apreel now in the backline getting deleted by the combination of Julio and the jungler there, Dzoni. And Yomi Tanuki once again at a disadvantage after completely dropping that kill onto Sap. Pikarino forced into the ultimate as well. Cozyx chunked down, but now properly tanky, getting a third item online here. A lot expended there for the 1 kill on Apreel, who's going to be down for 30 minutes. But I mean, the shred, this Fire Giant's gone, Spooky.
Absolutely gone, and now potentially a fight afterwards. The Tanuki in full retreat, but the Mambo are stepping forward. They've got Fire Giant on 5. Expect to siege around these tier 2s. There's still tier 1s staying up in the left side. Might expect to see them go over there, clear that up, and then start their tier 2 push. Either way, there's a lot of gold sitting on the map, just waiting to be pocketed by the Hex Mambo now. They've won 2 fights back-to-back, pushed themselves a little bit further ahead. They're sitting 2,000 in the lead right now, but the real advantage comes with these Titans. These Titans are pushing down. Spudio already in the area. Nuki are opting to push with their Titan. Mambo doesn't have to answer it just yet. They could just focus on getting gold on the map. But Cozyx is going in, man. He's up there.
All game long, Cozyx has been totally unafraid of hitting that gas pedal. Calvìn yoinked in. Not the best target for the Kraken. Able to escape, though. Calvìn burning the beads in the process. Those are going to be down for 160 seconds. As the Hex Mambo are working with their Titan here, looking at this tier 2 tower. Dzoni wrapping around the back line. Keep an eye on this Susano OgiBre. Up in the air, whooped up Julio. Big time lockdown on the Pikarino and StreakUp. Spudio deleting.
Oh, apreel!
Calvìn there. Apreel's in the air. Apreel's going to come down to a rude awakening here. Which way you want to die, buddy? Tends to go backward there just to try to annoy the Hex Mambo and delay their siege onto this Phoenix for just a moment. I mean, this is 5 members of the Hex Mambo with the Titan taking out this middle lane Phoenix. Apreel down for 40. Calvìn down for 20. Mid lane Phoenix down. Hex Mambo choosing to get out of dodge. Pikarino charging forward here with that home sweet home. Yeah, I would have bet money on the fact that Hex Mambo would have charged into the Titan room and committed everything over the top. Here comes StreakUp, now between a rock and a hard place. What a decision there from the ADC. Aggressive. Pays off, though, with the 1v1. Pikarino taking out big-time damage dealer in Spudio. Oh, OgiBre should have gone in there with the Defender of Olympus being channeled. At the very least, Cozyx going to fall on the tail end. Julio and Dzoni, the last 2 remaining members of the Mambo. Great blink there from Calvìn. Lockdown onto Dzoni. Oh, and a dash into the wall. Teleport off the mark as well. Here comes the Typhoon. Pikarino able to pick up the jungler for at least 50 seconds. Julio with that ultimate back online, able to escape. And now I see why I would be an absolute fool to bet money on them going into the Titan room, with Yomi Tanuki having a great defense there to stop the Hex Mambo for at least the next minute or so.
Yeah, Mambo was just way too low to try looking for anything more there. And plus, so many towers still on the board means that Titan is pretty tanky. They just overstayed their welcome. They took a really weird retreat path there. Frankly, if they had just kept going back down the mid lane, they're probably just fine. They get out of there no problem. But they instead opted to go around the Phoenix wall and start trying to recall there? I don't know why you would ever do that. StreakUp is able to just jump in, and StreakUp creates that entire fight of his one play there. Yes, it gets him killed, but it also gets Hex Mambo almost completely wiped and keeps Tanuki firing on all the cylinders they need to be right now. They've only lost 1 Phoenix, not the worst position to be in. It's the mid lane. They can easily defend against those fire minions from the Fire Giant pit. It doesn't take long to get there. Tanuki is not in a bad position right now, and everything now is about this next Fire Giant that we're going to look at. It's not enhanced just yet. That'll still be a little ways away. Primal Fury on the board. Expect some play around it here. Cozyx stepping in aggressively. We're at the point in this game where he can't afford to do that so much. He cannot be getting taken down to half health before anything even starts. These death timers are getting longer and longer, as we just saw in that last fight. Mambo has to be very careful around this Fury. You can see the Tanuki, they want to catch someone out. They want to look for the picks.
Oh, apreel cannot drop low. Apreel has to stay topped off, so when
OgiBre
goes into the powwow,
Uh-oh.
Good damage. OgiBre drops immediately back down to the Kraken, but tanky is this Thor. Calvìn dropping low. Desert Fury to try to dissuade a little bit of the follow-up.
Yeah.
In his apreel, just trying to be a distraction here. Spudio dropping low. Pikarino raining down the fire blast there. Apreel taking out Spudio. What a big-time pickup here, Spooky, by the Yomi Tanuki. Hex Mambo being forced out at half HP. Pikarino coming up big in that team fight.
And Pikarino just put out so much damage, and he's still completely healthy. Look at that health bar right now. One ultimate just burns everyone away from Hex Mambo, and they finally get this composition working for them. They get the powwow off into the home sweet home, and there's just so little that the Mambo can do to survive there. They try to start the fight up, but consistently, we've been seeing a large portion of their burst being used on the Tanuki front line. It's Calvìn getting hit by the Krakens. It's OgiBre being hit by the Stygian Torments. And half the time, Augie isn't even been hit by them because he just channels the Berserker's Barrage and gets knock-up immunity. It's really tough for the Mambo to actually find a win when you're hitting the tankiest members of the Tanuki. They did put a lot of damage into apreel, but the safety of the powwow just allows him to get up out of danger and still find so much value in these fights. Tanuki have answered back cleanly, but their mid lane Phoenix now back in action. Expect to see them grouping around the Fire Giant. It's the only objective that's up on the board right now. It will be enhanced by the time we're actually looking at taking it down. This is the most important Fire Giant of potentially the entire game here, Dimes.
And, okay, so Spooky, Poseidon is kind of like almost like a meme at this point, right? With like the Krakens being on target, the Krakens on the Fire Giant, the Misty Cures. I mean, we've got literal years of just terrible Krakens to play with when it comes to new ability and Poseidon, right? And it's been a little bit touch of that, like you mentioned, these Krakens being burned on the front line. And we saw it barely tickle OgiBre in that last engagement here. I mean, does Sap have to save this next Kraken for the Fire Giant? I feel like using it on the Yomi Tanuki, unless you are taking out a critical target in Pikarino or StreakUp or even apreel, it seems like it's just a misplay to use it on anything else.
I mean, yeah, you have to use it on either the Fire Giant to secure it, or on a squishy member of the Tanuki that will actually be hit by a Kraken and say, oh, ouch, I got hit by a Kraken, instead of just laughing because he got hit by a Kraken. Right? It's all about the target selection here. You don't have to save it specifically for the Fire Giant, but you gotta use it where it matters. That's not it!
Oh, the whoop immunes the Kraken. Calvìn with a lucky break miscommunication out of Hex Mambo, and the Yomi Tanuki taking advantage of the misplay, hitting the gas pedal. Sap falls, Cozyx low, StreakUp going in aggressively once again. No fear out of the Anhur, but pays for it. Yomi Tanuki, meanwhile, have just, fallen into their graves here. Apreel at a tick of HP. Pikarino going to Julio. How did that turn? Spooky. The Hex Mambo were surging backwards. The Yomi Tanuki sensing blood, and Hex Mambo flips it on its head.
I see. It's very simple. It was all a bait. Sap throws out the ultimate, knowing it wouldn't hit, so that the Tanuki would say, the Kraken's down. Now we overcommit. Cozyx does finally get a few more members in that Stygian Torment than just OgiBre. And so he's able to disrupt the fight a little bit there. But the problem from the Tanuki was they split. They didn't focus their fire down onto Spudio. They sent StreakUp onto Spudio, and then Dzoni comes in to help him. Valkyrie's discretion keeps the Freya alive and is able to blast down StreakUp. Pikarino goes in on a different target, gets cut down for it. And all of a sudden, all the AoE damage coming through leaves Calvìn low, leaves apreel low, and they cannot keep going beyond that. They find a 2-for-2. At the end of the day, it still does slightly favor the Yomi Tanuki here. They do get the beacon off of it. They were able to get Sap 7 off the board. Sure, they lost their backliners, but they haven't lost an objective for it. They're able to step right back forward here. If they have that same exact fight again and just target prio a little bit better and make sure that Spudio dies before they start looking at Julio, they're looking a lot better here. But Tanuki, they want the Fire Giant. They're going to start it up.
I like Calvìn and Ogi here. Playing the front line, allowing the back line here in the Yomi Tanuki. It's going to be a coin flip. Hex Mambo grab the Fire Giant under the nose there of the Yomi Tanuki. Apreel does take out Sap. StreakUp finds Cozyx as well, so a 2-for-0. So far, this Fire Giant Spooky is not looking worthwhile. Spudio falling low. OgiBre taking out the ADC here for Hex Mambo, and Hex Mambo over-committing to that objective. Yomi Tanuki taking advantage, surging down this right-hand lane. Tier 2 tower is going to fall. Phoenix almost certainly going to lose its life as well, and the question is, how much more do the Yomi Tanuki get?
The Yomi Tanuki might just get the entire game here. Julio has to make a hero play, but he goes in, he's getting melted down.
Oh, so is Apreel, though, in the back line. Dzoni taking out the jungler and forced to get back, but Pikarino at full HP
going in
to distract Dzoni. Here comes StreakUp, Calvìn, and OgiBre onto the Titan of Hex Mambo. Dzoni being distracted here in the meantime by Pikarino. OgiBre falling low. Here's the Typhoon leaped over. StreakUp perfectly plays the ultimate. OgiBre smashing down, and the Yomi Tanuki. It was unclear if they could find it a Hex Mambo, but certainly they do, taking game number 1 here in 34 minutes.
Yeah, Tanuki pretty much just rolled into this game, looked us up on the cast and said, hey, put some respect on our names here. They do not fall easily. And Mambo, just so disorganized in this game. I hate to say it, but that last Fire Giant, which I swear it said that the Hex Mambo got, but it actually ended up around the waist of Yomi Tanuki.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So that's part of why they're able to push down so effectively there. Spudio completely isolated in that fight. Frontline making no effort whatsoever to move around to group up with Spudio. They tried to kind of distract the Yomi Tanuki on one side so that Spudio could sneak in on the other and blast it down. Didn't work out. So it ends up with the entire team of Mambo falling. And even if it did work out, even if they were the ones that walked out with that Fire Giant, I still don't think they would have survived with the grouping they had. The positioning was just not there for the Mambo. They have to be more together. If your win condition is the Freya, you have to be working on protecting the Freya.
Spooky discombobulated there from the Hex Mambo. Yomi Tanuki take advantage. We're going to go to a quick break, set up game number 2, and we're back at it with Smite action in just a few.
new sanctuary. Run for your fucking life.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back into the Smite's Challenger Circuit. And yeah, I literally only did that to make you break, Spooky. It's Europe. It's the Yomi Tanuki taking game number 1 over the Hex Mambo. 2 European powerhouses going blow for blow there, Spooky. Back and forth. Game number 1 looked like Hex Mambo were really in the driver's seat, but then a little fire giant mishap goes the way of Yomi Tanuki, who's storming down the right-hand lane, take down game number 1.
I don't know if I want to talk to you. You're doing weird stuff today.
Picks and bands?
Picks and bands. Why not?
Picks and bands. Game number 2.
No, it's like you said, though. Tanuki have just looked very good so far today. They're firing on all cylinders. Everyone is on the same page, and I think that's the biggest factor that's been the difference maker in game 1. The Mambo just don't look like they're communicating with each other as cleanly as the Tanukis are. They don't seem to be tracking where the Tanukis are at on the map. And if calls are being made, it doesn't feel like they're really being listened to. Or maybe they're just calls that I'm not privy to. Maybe the call is to split the map, and the Mambo were just trying a particular game plan that ended up not working for them. Either way, I expect some adjustments to be made here in game number 2. Couple ADC bans. Heimdall being taken off the board by the Tanuki. That's one we haven't seen in a hot minute. We did see some SPL action yesterday, but it's not the ban I was expecting to see come through from the Tanukis. I mean, if you have a game like that, I expect second first team was the first. You're setting yourself up for a Ratatoskr. I like this quite a lot. Tanukis, a very good early pressure pick in their first pick here.
Especially with Hex Mambo banning out the Athena, banning out the Thor, right? So there's the 2 globals taken off the board. What do you go to? You go to the semi-global in Ratatoskr. So you still have that same kind of mobility, same kind of pressure that, I mean, you could put it in the solo lane, kind of find the same exact situation that Ogi was doing in game number 1. Muzen off the rip here from Hex Mambo. Hachiman with the second lock in. So, I mean, my gut is saying that B is going in the middle lane, Hachiman going to duo. I mean, is that risky? Into this Ratatoskr, especially with his number 1 pick. I mean, Muzen is going to be a tasty treat for this rat.
Risky is an understatement, Dimes.
I don't do very many of those.
Is not the pick I look for when I see a Ratatoskr is the first selection from the Yomi Tanukis. I mean,
Pele.
This is just very dangerous.
It's heat.
The AMC.
The name is Freya.
No AMC, or no CC immunity. No mobility. Really just setting yourselves up to be dove on by this Ratatoskr with Pele also in the mix here. Likely to be a Pele mid. We've seen plenty of that in recent days. This is a double dive coming from the mid jungle. I don't think AMC has any survivability here whatsoever. Putting the Freya back in that dual lane. Not too surprising there. It is going to switch hands, go over to StreakUp instead of Spudio, who's opting for a little bit more safety on this Hachi. But right now, it just feels like the Yomi Tanukis have a better fight than the Mambo does. I like the Osiris. Very good in the solo lane. Can take those 1v1 fights very effectively. He can scale up easily. He can dive very well. But it also gets banished very easily by the Freya. So, how effective is it going to be? I'm not entirely sure. This draft from the Tanuki on the top 3 looks really nice.
Well, you take off the Baba Yaga from Pikarino, who, I mean, post 25 minutes just popped off with that home sweet home. You also have to get rid of the actual global with the Giannis there. Make sure there's not too much mobility and rotation potential here from the Tanuki. All Kwong and Habwa, a couple of high-powered magical characters off the board there from the Tanuki. Hex Mambo, pick up Terra, no surprise there. Top pick, top ban. Ganesh, notably still on the board here for the Yomi Tanuki.
There it is.
Tier 2, baby, and the Chang'e being looked at here. All right, now, I was going to ask about this.
You don't want to stand in my way.
There's some flexi, right? Ratatoskr solo,
Right.
Pele jungle, Chang'e mid, Chang'e solo, Pele mid, Ratatoskr jungle. Where are you falling on the position of these picks, especially with that last lock-in?
I'm putting this Chang'e in mid, or in solo. I would rather have the Pele mid to facilitate the dive onto AMC, and Chang'e, I feel, just plays effectively into the Osiris. He likes to get close and brawl with you with those basics. Chang'e doesn't do that. She's a little bit closer range than most other mages, which is why I don't like her in the mid lane. But she has more range than the Osiris. She can poke very effectively and then dance back out of his damage. She can very effectively just avoid the stun from Osiris, so he's pretty much never going to get that off. And onto that, she's got sustain and anti-heal to make his healing a little bit less effective, which is only going to come from items. She doesn't have any inherent sustain in the kit itself. Camazotz, I expect to be in the jungle, so we could see some retro gamer moments where we put Osiris back in the jungle with the mannequins. I don't like that as much as him in the solo lane. I think Camazotz just does a little bit better in the jungle right now. So far, it's just looking very good from the Tanukis. I think the Mambo have a lot of work cut out for them, and it really comes down to how safe can Sap 7 stay on this AMC. Now, we did see him on a similar character in Game 1, the Poseidon. Relies on move speed, doesn't have a ton of mobility, no CC immunity. Maybe this is just the kind of god that Sap likes. Either way, he was getting picked out, didn't have the greatest survivability in team fights. I don't know if this AMC changes a whole lot of that.
We got some question marks here for the Hex Mambo. The Yomi Tanuki, certainly in composition and picks and bans, poised to take game number 2 here, Spooky. Let's hop into the battlefield of the gods here. See how it all shakes out. It is going to be Pikarino in the mid lane there with the Pele. OgiBre headed into the solo lane, going to match up against Julio. A little bit of anti-heal coming from Julio. Talk me through this mage-warrior matchup.
And it's just kind of annoying for Julio, if I'm being completely honest. OgiBre has more range, is reliant on that blue buff, like extremely heavily. So if you can find some invades into that side of the jungle, if you can take away those blue buffs from OgiBre, you're putting Julio ahead quite a bit in that lane. Problem is, how effectively are you going to be able to do that? Because you're asking to invade a Ratatoskr with potential rotations from Pele as well. That is a lot of early game damage that just doesn't feel good to play into, especially if all you have is Camazotz and Osiris. You've got some good damage, you've got some good sustain, but you're not quite matching the pressure that the Tanukis can put out in this early game. And unlike the first game, it doesn't feel like the Mambos have like this amazing late game that they can play into and just outscale the Tanukis. This is a lot closer in the draft. I grant that the Ratatoskr does fall off a little bit in the later stages of the game, but through the Cosmos is always relevant. OgiBre with the Waxing Moon is always relevant. You have to constantly be aware of your positioning, because that stun only gets stronger the more people it hits coming out from this Chang'e. It'll be hard to force her out of the lane. You include the rabbit passive, she can just buy items from the lane itself. It's a little bit of a tough one. She's gone beads, so she's not going to be reliant on a teleport to get back to the lane. She's just planning on never leaving.
Spooky, I will be shocked if First Blood comes anywhere but the middle lane. I mean, and Pele, Amuz, and Cobb.
Yeah, it's definitely a very volatile lane to be looking at right now. I mean, you got so much pressure there, so much kill potential. Pikarino on his own has good kill potential over this AMC. You start adding the junglers into the mix, you can bet that Apreel is foaming at the mouth for a chance to gank this AMC with Spudio. Just whooped. Silence prevents them from going anywhere, but all in all, it's just early game Freya things.
Now, I do want to talk about Camazotz and this Dzoni pickup.
I don't.
I kind of like. I
No, go ahead.
You so much. Like,
No, go ahead. Go
my
ahead.
heart is full of love for you, Spooky, but it's like reluctant. You know what I mean? Why? All right, lock back in. Camazotz.
You chose this.
Right, you're so right, bestie. Camazotz. I kind of like raised my eyebrow when this pick was locked in last for Dzoni. What is Camazotz bringing to the table here for the Mambo that like a Susano is not bringing, or any other like relevant pick that we've seen recently, right? The Cirquettes, the goodness gracious, she goes up into the powwow. You know, she like
Daji?
tortures. Daji, thanks,
We
man.
just saw that one.
I know. That's why I was like, why can't I? You know,
You remember
it's not like I
the
know every
ultimate
god in
name,
the
but
game.
not the god name.
Right. Anyways, point being, what does this Camazotz provide to Dzoni that any other jungler that we've seen being taken into that role recently does not?
It is extremely hard to punish. It's free engage and free disengage. You can just get in there, you just hop on in, your little goblin maneuver, start sucking blood up, have some vampire bats, great healing, and if things start getting bad, okay, bat out of the hell, just get up in the sky, can't be touched for the longest time. It just allows so many more plays to come out from Dzoni. If you're looking to dive, this facilitates it extremely well. If you're just looking to disengage, boom, no problem. Press 4, you're out of there. It's a very safe pick that also has a lot of damage and can take trades very effectively. The 1v1s from this Camazotz are very strong unless you just stand in front of the Acorn Blast and just take it full damage. Then you lose that just straight up. But the sustain keeps you active, much like Apreel's getting active.
Here we go. Double ultimate here. On to Spudio, who immediately hops on the horse. He gets out of danger there. Dzoni dropping so low, so fast. Bat out of hell, not available as StreakUp takes down Dzoni for first blood. Spudio with just a couple more autos. Apreel finds the fat last whip there onto the ADC. Down goes Dzoni, down goes Spudio. A 2-0 start for the Yomi Tanuki. Sap has made the rotation in. Cozyx
No
here as
mana.
well. Apreel, no mana, just enough mana for one dash. Pikarino going in onto Sap, no way out for the B. Down goes.
Oh my god!
Mambo. Cozyx, one more shot. StreakUp. What a start for the Yomi Tanuki. A clean 4-0. No turnaround from the Hex Mambo. You get 2 onto the Freya, and that's exactly how you drew it up if you're the Tanuki.
Man, I just don't know why the Mambo tried rotating there. Sap 7 had no business trying to continue that fight. Yes, Apreel had no mana, but guess what? If you're rotating from the mid lane, chances are the other guy's also rotating. You're not going to just get that travel time for free. And Pikarino can move fast on this Pele. So Sap 7 probably thought, okay, it's my side of the jungle. I can get there before Pikarino, and we can put out the damage. Unfortunately, they don't have enough damage. They don't have enough lockdown, and Pikarino shows up way faster than I think the Mambo were expecting. And the early damage from this Tanuki draft is just way too good to be taking those trades. Dzoni doesn't go into the bat out of hell. Maybe trying to save it, ends up not paying off for him. He takes a spill, and every single member, other than Julio, is down 0-1-0 at the start of this game. We're 6 minutes in. That was the first blood, and it was 4 kills. Tanuki have all the gas right now. Apreel feeling great, 100% kill participation. Calvìn also 100% kill participation. They got all the gold involved in that entire ordeal. Hell, even StreakUp's got kind of 100% kill participation. That's what happens when everything goes down in the duo lane in one spot.
My eyes are on StreakUp. I mean, 202, great start. Like you said, 100% kill participation. We saw what happens when Freya gets that third ring online. It's like game. If you're 1v1ing, no, you're not. Like, no, you're not. Not like, StreakUp just wins that fight every time. And I don't want to like be a doomsday prophet here for Hex Mambo, right? Like, this is not game over. It's 4 kills pre 10 minutes. it's very, very comebackable, right? It's like 1,000 gold deficit, maybe 2,000. Or no, it's about 1,000. It's 1,000 gold deficit, right? Neutral objectives still on the board. It's fine. Hex Mambo is fine. It's just to take a step back, reset. Let's farm up a bit. Let's catch back up. Let's re-engage. So I don't want to... Yes, it's fantastic that Yomi Tanuki got off to a hot start. I don't want to throw in the towel for Hex Mambo just yet, as there's a 2v2 in the mid lane here. Pikarino dashing around the backline, going in immediately on Sap 7, dropping to half HP, and now it's just a formality about who's going to finish off this B. Oh my goodness, the Stinger ripping through Apreel. What a turnaround there from Sap, giving their life in order for Dzoni to pick up a return kill on the jungler. A 1-for-1. Goes the way of Hex Mambo, though. Apreel was a little bit further ahead in the AMC. Pikarino back under tower, locked down. Dzoni going in aggressively here. Does have the bat out of hell available. Ooh. Up into the air. Cozyx taking damage. Cozyx going down. Oh, man, what a misinterpretation there of the tower damage at 8 minutes. And the Yomi Tanuki pick up a kill that really should not have gone their way.
Now, that's the thing about diving this Pele. She is hard to kill. Yes, you're a Camazotz. You got tons of sustain. But so does Pikarino on this Pele. He's got the Soul Eater now fully stacked. Has Life Steal in the passive as well. There's a lot of sustain that comes through when this Pele gets low. And I think that was misjudged. Now Calvìn steps way out of position. Does drop the Dharmic Pillars onto Dzoni. Forces the disengagement. Spudio is okay. Not going to be forcing too much here just yet. The Tanukis have a fire in them right now, Dimes. They are pushing for just about as much as they can really find for themselves here. Extending that lead a little bit more, 1,600. And it's not a large lead, but it's a steady growth that we're seeing from the Tanukis. And it's something that the Mambo really have to be wary of. Sap on this AMC, it's like you said, he did a great job putting the damage back out into Apreel. But you have to stay a little bit safer than that. It's dicey because you've got this jungler who doesn't have really any CC. So if you do get dove on, you're relying purely on the damage as a form of peel. You're not going to be just locking someone down and walking away. You just have to kill them before they can kill you. So far, the Tanukis are just doing that better.
I mean, Spooky, as soon as we saw this AMC locked in, you called it. It's going to be dive central all day long on this immobile Muzen Cobb in the middle lane, perfect positioned for a gank, and you see it in the build, right? I mean, a Breastplate of Valor off the rip. You get a Transcendence, you finish it up, you stack it, immediately go into the defensive item, and that kind of, counterplays what you said as damage as peel, right? Sap has to rely on the stinger and the damage to get out of dodge. Can't really do much damage if your defense item is second. Pikarino locked in by the Dharmic Pillars there. A bit of a teammate misplay there. Gonna go down to the likes of Dzoni. 6-2, Hex Mambo crawling back. Sap 7 dropping low as well. Calvìn in a tough place, able to dash out of danger there. And it's going to be a 1-for-0. Unfortunately there, Pikarino just locked in by the Dharmic Pillars. A bit of a, not even a misplay from Calvìn, just an unfortunate occurrence.
No, go ahead. Up into the Valkyrie's discretion, not able to find the last bit of damage. Onto Spudio with StreakUp. Tanukis right now are feeling very good. Like you said, they're able to get a shutdown onto Pikarino. Sometimes we do a little bit of Dharmic trolling. That's just how the pillars work out sometimes. It was a very good ult from Calvìn. It's just the placement just was so unfortunate for Pikarino. Right. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't cost them a whole lot here. Sap is slightly ahead in the mid lane now, but because he's opted into a Breastplate of Valor, that lead isn't going to be as relevant as it otherwise could be. Now Dzoni, looking for StreakUp. Oh, that's 2 whiffs. StreakUp is dead.
No Valkyrie's discretion there for StreakUp to head into. Dzoni, you can see. I mean, you can see Johnny's positioning there. You could literally feel it. Like this Freya is dead. It's just like when she's gonna die. Pikarino off the mark there onto Sap immediately. Okay, one AoE auto connects, takes out Sap there, or at least takes him out of the fight for just a moment here. But Cozyx is back into it, locking down Apreel, the honey bees, ticking damage away. A bit of a miss shot there from Pikarino. Looked like it could have been a kill onto Sap 7, but a well-timed rotation there from Cozyx. He's gonna make sure that the mid laner gets out of danger. And the Yomi Tanuki, they started off hot. A couple of misplays have led to a few spills, and now it looks like the Hex Mambo are heating up in their own right.
Mambo are definitely still in this game. They've got a lot of fight back in the tank right now. And if Pikarino hadn't, whiffed Volcanic Lightning, maybe that goes better for them. But now it's a beacon fight. Just Pikarino and Calvìn here. Dzoni make the rotation.
No ultimate online, so no real dash here for Pikarino. Does have some fuel for the fire to speed up just a little bit here. Good shred out of Apreel, locking down Dzoni for a little bit. Beacon is still the target here, and it's going to go the way of the Hex Mambo.
Yeah, Mambo doing a good job keeping someone on that beacon through the entire fight there, making sure that they're not just pushing the Tanuki back away from it, they're also making an actual play for the beacon. So many times you see teams try to take the fight all the way, and they just hard commit to that, and they don't have anyone left on beacon, and so it's just kind of a reset. Not the case here. Mambo playing this game smart. They're playing the map wisely. Dzoni very active on this left side. StreakUp is really feeling the pressure this time around. This Freya, very vulnerable to ganks. Loves the 1v1s. Doesn't mind the 2v1s so much, but when you cannot hit the person that's diving on you, as is the case with the Bat Out of the Hell, it becomes a little bit more complicated for StreakUp here. And right now, Mambo's just playing this very effectively. They've found themselves some pressure across the board. This Breastplate of Valor is actually doing wonders for Sap 7, keeping him alive, allowing them to actually find pressure against Pikarino here in this mid lane. Their eyes on this left side there. You can see 3 people on this side. Might be looking for a Gold Fury sometime soon.
Kind of got to put Apreel in that conversation as well. The Ratataskr's in the middle lane, but with Yggdrasil could get to the left side very quickly. Spudio falling so low. Valkyrie's Discretion off the mark twice. And StreakUp forced out. StreakUp is going to fall here to Dzoni. Spudio able to make it out with just a kick of HP. Calvìn is now the new target. Cozyx and Dzoni wailing away here at the elephant. Sap's back in the fray as well. Dishing out some slows, dishing out some damage, and helping Dzoni find the rampage here for the Camazotz. All eyes on the Fury as Apreel takes out the speed buff for a little bit of XP, a little bit of gold. Pikarino around the corner could find a big-time ultimate here to lock down the Gold Fury. Dzoni playing Space Creator, peeling for the rest of the squad here. Spudio also in the back line, making it back from base, and dropping now is Dzoni to Pikarino. Still has the ultimate online. Burns it now. Gold Fury, it's going to be a coin flip. Yomi Tanuki, snag it away. Pikarino finds the objective. Dzoni staying alive. Cozyx doing the same, but the Yomi Tanuki finding the Fury and elongating their gold lead here. Just about 500 or 600 over the Hex Mambo.
It's a weird call, right? Tanuki lose 3 members around that Gold Fury, but they do steal it away. And at the end of the day, you've already lost the 2 at the start. So really, this is a Gold Fury for 1. And that's a trade you're willing to make. That's what the Tanuki needed to have happen in order to keep themselves relevant in this game. It's a tough call to make, but sometimes the tough calls are the right ones. Tanuki ends up at a neutral point at the end of this. I really feel like if you're StreakUp and you're in the Valkyrie's Discretion and you see 2 people directly beneath you, you gotta just fire off that last shot and try to get the kill onto Spudio. You gotta try to take the shred out to make that Gold Fury go down a little bit slower for the Mambo. At the end of the day, it's a 3 for Gold Fury. Apreel does get out with his life. It's only Pikarino who falls at the tail end of things. Tanukis are still doing a good job of fighting around these objectives. It's just a matter of getting them all there in a timely manner, because in game 1, that was all they were doing. They were around these objectives. They were grouping up. Now here in game 2, they're really letting the Mambo find a better position, find a better grouping around pretty much everything so far. That's got to change if they want to stay relevant in this game. They've got great dive. They just need to have the numbers there for it.
Oh, wow. Apreel. My eyes are on Apreel now as Dzoni is getting locked down. What a great stun there from Apreel. Able to get up onto the World Tree there and escape the clutches of Dzoni. Pyromancer being looked at here by Sap and Cozyx, certainly going to fall as well. I mean, OgiBre's here with ultimate, Waxing Moon on the table. Pikarino's the same. Hex Mambo secure the Pyromancer as Spooky chuckles in the background there. OgiBre taking on Julio. First big rotations here from the solo lane. Waxing Moon doesn't find too much, a couple stuns, but not the damage to follow up. Dzoni, 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, back down to earth. Dzoni picks up OgiBre. Calvìn, the new target here. Pikarino caught between 3. What a stun there from the Ratatoskr, forcing the Hex Mambo to retreat. Zap 7 with a double here. Julio falling low, but only apreel and StreakUp to capitalize. And with StreakUp on the left side of the map, a very weak apreel has to look on as Hex Mambo escape with all of what they have gained in that fight.
Once again, it's just the grouping from Mambo. They're just rotating so much more effectively than the Tanuki right now. They force out apreel and say, okay, we know that he's low. He has no ultimate. What can we do now? Rotate over to the right side of the map. Start finding a fight over there. StreakUp has to find a fight over here. Valkyrie's discretion ain't going to do it there, buddy. He's too far away. One more safety tool down for the Tanuki. And it's starting to feel like some signs of desperation, just hungry to get anything on the board there. And you look at the game state, it's not bad for the Tanukis. They're not nearly as far down as that fight may have led you to believe. That was just the Mambo catching up and taking the first inklings of a lead away from Tanuki. This is still very much an even game. And if the Tanuki can get all people on board like they were in game 1, they're looking very good in these fights. They've got all the tools they need. Waxing Moon, Acorn Blast can do so much CC. It's just a matter of having the follow-up there for it. At the tail end of things, we saw it start to come through, but they'd already taken too much of a beating to really put anything forward. Now, Beacon being looked at by both members, or both teams, I should say. It's a dance right now. Cozyx, very tanky, hard to take down, hard to get the poke off on, but the Dharmic Pillars may be the start of something with Dzoni in a bad spot.
Oh, Dzoni forced to use the Bat Out of Hell to retreat, but does put a couple shots out. In the meantime, get yourself slamming down onto Julio. That's not the target you really want to engage on. A good whoop also to stop Hex Mambo in their tracks as a very low health Yomi Tanuki collectively have to get out of danger there. OgiBre does have some healing on the table with the Chang'e. Didn't really talk about the potential for sustain here out of the Yomi Tanuki now that the Chang'e has rotated. You see apreel already leapt back up to about 3/4 HP. Primal Fury at about 1/4 HP. Pikarino going in, finds the knockup. Primal Fury reset. Julio looking at OgiBre. Calvìn with the silence. Julio slamming forward. Spinning on the backline. Julio diving real deep. Dzoni taking out one. Julio finding another. Sap is being chased out by Pikarino. Meanwhile, in the backline, Julio there to support Calvìn with a wonderful whoop from StreakUp is able to escape. And now StreakUp between a rock and a hard place. Cozyx puts the finishing touches on it. Sap survives. Pikarino falls. Hex Mambo with a turnaround. Hex Mambo with a deicide as Dzoni cleans up the last remaining living member of the Yomi Tanuki. And now it's back to the Fury for Hex Mambo, who have really opened up this game number 2, Spook.
For those of you who can't see, Dimes literally just put his arms in the air for that deicide. I mean, it feels like that all comes down to Pikarino chasing Sap 7 so hard out of that fight, right? Sap 7 was no longer in the fight. He was way too low to rejoin it, was nowhere near it. At that point, you gotta just bring that damage back to the team. Instead, he stays way far up, while Dzoni and Julio are just playing the zone game. So difficult to kill, so difficult to remove as an obstacle, despite them having the remover of obstacles. It just feels like the target prioritization is not there for the Tanuki right now. Push Sap out of the fight, great. Once he has 200 health, you can walk away. He's not going to be able to rejoin the fight. If he tries to, he dies to literally any AoE that you throw at him, and you're feeling great. Now instead, Mambo able to play a little bit more effectively. They're able to step forward. They've got a lot of anti-heal online for Mambo right now. I was just looking that over. Dzoni, Sap, even Cozyx, all with anti-heal in the kit, or in the builds, I should say. So that's really limiting the effectiveness of OgiBre in keeping the team sustained. And OgiBre may just be falling down as well here. He's got nowhere to go. That's one more kill. 15th one and Divine for Dzoni. OgiBre not able to keep the team healthy. Pikarino not able to sustain through these fights. StreakUp not able to sustain through the fights. And there's very little anti-heal from the side of the Tanuki. They're against a Camazotz.
Right. As Fire Giant's getting started up here by the Hex Mambo. Yomi Tanuki on the bad side of a power play, Dharmic Pillars to try to just create a little bit of distraction, create some space, maybe throw out a little bit of damage as well. Spudio is going to be the target heal for Apreel. Spudio is dropped to about half HP, but not enough follow-up to really make anything happen after it. Calvìn is going to fall with, I mean, not even a fight back here from the Yomi Tanuki. Just surging forward are the Hex Mambo. Immediately back to the Fire Giant. Yomi Tanuki, I mean, don't even have a Waxing Moon to try to steal away the objective here from Hex Mambo. Apreel forced out. Apreel going to be forced down as well. Just going to be, Julio stealing away the kill there from the Bat Out of Hell. Pikarino with a good knockup to dissuade Julio from surging forward anymore. And the Hex Mambo have a death grip on this game number 2, Spook.
Yeah, Mambo is not going anywhere. They took a spill in game 1, and they said, enough of that. No more. They've come together a lot more effectively here in game 2. They're grouping up as a team. They're moving effectively. They're keeping Sap alive in these fights, which was a massive problem for them in game number 1. And you can see the impact it's having. Sap is top of the damage charts, followed closely by Dzoni. In fact, Spudio hasn't really been able to do a whole lot in this game so far. He's not able to interact with Freya. And by the time that he's rotating through the fights, people are just being burst down. I would not take that low damage number as anything against Spudio. That's just the game as it stands right now. He's not really needed to be putting out the damage because Julio and Dzoni are just so effective at the dive right now. They're just doing so much space creation, and it's allowing the Mambo to just shred down these objectives with their double hunter backline. Spudio and Sap together will melt anything you put them in front of. You saw that in action at the Fire Giant. You saw it in action at the push afterwards. And you look over to the Tanuki, and I mean, you can dive onto Dzoni. He's got ult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is a lot committed to taking out this Camazotz who can just literally do what Dzoni just did, which is 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden you're halfway across the map. And not only that, Bat Out of Hell burns plenty of time for the rest of the Hex Mambo to rotate in, right? I mean, look at the left side lane. The Phoenix is falling, Spooky, and for what? You're not taking out Dzoni, Terra ultimate. In fact, Calvìn falls in the meantime, so you lose a Phoenix, you lose the support, you might lose StreakUp here, and what do you get for it? Literally Jack, as Pikarino, Ogi, and Apreel are being forced out here by the combination of Dzoni and Julio, and my voice is rising because I'm in just complete disbelief that the Yomi Tanuki are not getting anything from this, and meanwhile, the Tanuki are about to lose a middle lane Phoenix as only StreakUp is there to defend. Pikarino falls to Julio, the middle lane Phoenix falls.
They've got
the
minions.
Remainder of Hex Mambo. OgiBre is getting distracted. StreakUp and Apreel here have to put up some kind of defense. And now Dzoni takes out OgiBre.
What?
You get absolutely nothing on the right-hand side. And guess what, Spooky? Hex Mambo going to search forward. Okay, not quite. They're resetting the Titan. Calm down, Dimes. Cozyx falling low here. Apreel, Calvìn, and StreakUp have put something together. StreakUp has plenty of damage. Look at the build. Spudio takes out Calvìn in the meantime, though. Apreel back to full HP, but Spooky, it is 5 members of the Hex Mambo diving onto the Titan. StreakUp forced back into Fountain, and the Hex Mambo are going to fight back to a Game 3.
Hey, Dive, I mean, you called it at the start of this. You said it was going to be a 3-game set, and here we are. 1-1 on both teams, heading to a 3rd game. Tanuki just didn't look the same here in game number 2. I mean, I think this Camazotz was a massive problem, pretty much across the board for the Tanukis. They could not punish it. They couldn't take it down. They committed so much on the right side trying to kill Dzoni. And he just walked away, waited for Julio to come and said, hey, what if we just 2v3 you guys? What if we just 2v3 you walk out with 2 kills and then go end the game? Because the rest of my team is just free pushing. Just not enough care paid towards the composition, it feels like. The Tanukis have to go back to the drawing board. I mean, we didn't even see a Warlock staff finish stacking by the end of that game from OgiBre.
Spooky, I don't think the Tanuki have to go back to the drawing board. I think they get a brand new drawing board. I think you go to Home Depot and get a brand new whiteboard for game number 3. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back to finish out this set between the Tanuki and the Mambo.
Welcome to your new sanctuary. Run for your fucking life.
Howdy, folks. Welcome back into the Smite Challenger Circuit. We are still in Europe as the Hex Mambo have fought back into their 1-0 deficit against the Yomi Tanuki and brought us to a game number 3. You got Dimes, you got Spooky, and I don't think the Yomi Tanuki have a clue where last game went wrong.
I mean, it pretty much went wrong at the draft, it felt like. It looked so good at the start when they get the Ratatoskr, you got the Pele, looking pretty good, you got the Freya. And then you go into a Chang'e as your last pick, which I didn't really vibe with that personally. I didn't think that was what you was bringing the team together. I like the matchup into the Osiris, but we really didn't see any attention being paid towards that side lane. We didn't see really a whole lot of ganks coming towards that Osiris to put this Chang'e ahead. So OgiBre is just kind of sitting there in a neutral lane at that point. Didn't really do a whole lot to push StreakUp ahead either, and it felt like it went really well at the start. They got a really great start to things, and things just kind of snowballed out of control, and they were not able to get a grip back on that game.
Well, the Yomi Tanuki certainly have some compositional changes to be made here as we head into picks and bans for game number 3. And if you're looking at the Hex Mambo, I mean, the Amuzen Cobb looks great. I mean, it didn't look great, right? It like died 2 or 3 times and then got some defense online and then looked better in the late game. Camazotz looked amazing. Julio rotating with the Osiris, fantastic. The duo lane did their job, right? I mean, if you're the Hex Mambo, you're pretty consistent. You're pretty happy with how last game went. A little back and forth, but ultimately closing it out and ripping through bans here. Got to get rid of the Amuzen Cobb, Chernobog, no way. The Ratatoskr from the Tanuki. Bit of an interesting ban there, but that does leave for the first time in this set the Sun Wukong open, and that immediately goes in the hands of OgiBre.
This is odd. I don't think you needed to ban the AMC. I would have loved to see them run back the Ratatoskr. Because let me clarify something. When I say things went wrong at the draft, what I mean is that the game plan didn't match the draft. They didn't facilitate the draft after their initial lead. And so if you're putting Sun Wukong over in this right lane rather than getting that Ratatoskr back, it feels like you're just playing for a neutral lane at that point. It doesn't feel like you're really trying to do a whole lot that's different here in game number 3. Sun Wukong is good. He's probably one of the best solo laners, but he's one of the best solo laners not because he gives you a ton of kill potential and rotation power across the board, but because he stays safe and he can scale up and then be a disruptive force in the later game. I'm gonna say it now, Dimes. I think Sun Wukong is overrated personally. I think he's very good and very safe, but I like these next picks a lot more. I like this Anhur. I like this Baba Yaga coming out from them. StreakUp had a good performance on the Anhur before. Seeing Pikarino on this Baba, it looked fantastic. It's safe. It can be very defensive. I like the safety coming out from Yomi right now, but the fact that they allow Johnny to go back to this Camazotz, that's a little worry-inducing for me.
You're reading my mind, Spooky. The Terra gets banned away. Same thing goes for the Dodgy. I mean, do you just pick up like a Marty for the mid lane, right? You can't go the you can't go the Amuzen Cobb route. So maybe pick up another like mid lane penetration damage hunter in the same kind of vein.
As long as it's not Poseidon.
Right.
Anything that's not Poseidon.
Yeah, I got beef with Poseidon for real. I've had beef with Poseidon for like the last 8 years. As Jean Quay gets taken out, Susano goes off the board as well. Ganesh, clearly the next top pick. Maybe the Ares, Cabrakan, maybe in that conversation as well. Cerberus looked pretty good in game 1. So Ganesh is going to be locked in here for the Hex Mambo. The Yomi Tanuki, they have something to think about here, as it's going to be the Khepri hovered. I mean, what do you go into here for apreel? I mean, the Dodgy off the board, Ratatoskr off the board as well. So you got to dip into something new in the God pool. What's sticking out to you?
Not that. That's not what I was going to say. I don't like that. I hate that pick. I'd rather see a Hunbots over that. Even a Hunbots I don't really love here from all the CC media I'm seeing from the side of Mambo. They're hovering that for way longer than I would really like them to be. Oh!
Good job,
Might be a bots. I just don't know that finds really the value you're looking for. So like some Mercury might be a little bit better. Like that. Gives you a little bit more burst damage. Lets you take a target out. Because the problem with Hunbots is you're relying on that AoE fear, and there's just too much CC immunity from the Mambo. This Mercury plays a much different game. You'll look at a Sonic Boom in and just blow someone up. Yes, there's CC immunity to try to get out of dodge, but it's a lot harder to see that Sonic Boom coming and preemptively use your ultimate to get away from it. And once you're on top of someone, if you space it correctly, you can get right on top of this Hachiman or, God help, Sap on the Agni. Get on them, hit them with the 1-2, and they're pretty much dead. And by 1-2, I mean 1, then basic attack. The 2 is just a stem.
Well, Spooky, for my money, these are the 2 best drafts that the Tanuki and the Mambo have put together here in this game number 3. So let's take it to game number 3 and see how these 2 well-drafted compositions shake out here as the Tanuki and the Mambo take it the entire distance here. Back to a best of 1, Spooky.
I mean, both teams looking to take it the entire distance. And really, if you're going to take it the entire distance, who would you want more than the fastest god alive who can close that distance quicker than anybody else? Right, Dimes?
You're reading my mind. Mercury, fun fact, first god I ever diamond.
Wow, I
My
hate that
first-
for you. Actually,
Why?
I hate your choices.
Why,
him?
dude? I mean, it all
Just like
begins.
going fast.
It all begins in 2015. I'm a young lad, got a lot of time on my hands. I enjoy
This story
Mercury.
is already boring, guys. You gotta spruce this up a little bit here.
I was
Much
born
like
to
I
a
expect we're
cobbler.
gonna see-
He owned his own shoe store in downtown Rochester.
You owned your own shoe store at 15? In 2015?
No, I said I was born to a cobbler, as in like.
Oh, you're
my
born to a
father was
cobbler.
Right.
Okay, I'm liking the spruce on this a little bit, but
Right.
I think I like the spruce
gotta-
in the game a little bit more. If you take a look
Gotta
at
work
the
on the
duo
dimes
lane here.
let's take it into game here.
Wait,
Let's talk
were you
about this duo
actually
lane.
though?
Say what?
Were you actually
What?
born to a cobbler? We'll
You'll
get
never
back
know.
to it.
Spudio
Spudio's in
getting low
danger.
here. StreakUp going aggressively. Oh, what a fantastic impale there from the Anhur. Spudio in a tight spot here. A couple of auto attacks could be the difference here between life and death.
Calvìn.
With a hug knocks down Spudio for the first kill of the game. It's going to be a duo lane. The Yomi Tanuki kicking things off with a bang.
If you call him the hug bug for a reason there, and this is a great start for Tanuki. This is what this draft wants to do. If you're picking Anhur in your duo lane, you want to fight. You want to get aggressive. You want to find those early kills. Spudio and the Hachiman can take some fights, but he's not nearly as good at it in the first early levels as Anhur is. The passive penetrate, or really prot shred, I should say, coming from StreakUp's passive is massive. You add onto it Calvin's ability to reduce protections with the Rolling Sun as well. It's so easy to basically make this duo lane take true damage in the first early levels of the game. Mambo has to be very, very careful in this duo. Ganesha is very good at mitigating aggression. It's going to take a little bit more than that. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see some rotations from the junglers on really both sides. Apreel on this Mercury does want to do some farming, get some items online before he starts looking at too many ganks, but make no mistake, early Mercury gank can do a lot of damage. He's got displacement, good burst. I would be surprised if we do see these guys resting on their laurels right now.
I mean, the combination from Sonic Boom of both gap closing, CC, and a good bit of damage at level 5 and 6, like you said, it wouldn't be a surprise to see Apreel make something happen here, ticking over to level 5. In the mid lane here, we've got 2 burst mages. Need a couple items to get online, right? So unlikely to see Pikarino and Sap try to kick anything off aggressively. So where do you think, I mean, obviously we've already seen First Blood, but like you said, are these teams resting on their laurels, or are they, I mean, Calvìn is clearly not, as the purple buff is in the eyes of the hug bug.
This game right now is all about dual lane pressure. If you can find good advantages in the dual lane, you're doing fantastic. You're not going to steal that purple buff away, and Calvin's going to be on his own. StreakUp doesn't even care that his support is up there. He's got a wave to catch, and by God, he will catch that wave. Going to make Spudio lose just a couple minions there. But right now, Apreel has just hit level 5. He's going to go ahead and reset, get his first item online. Now I'd expect to see some attention paid over towards these shield buffs. Some more invades coming into this purple buff as well. And for Mambo's part, I'm expecting much the same. With Dzoni being level 5, he can get active over here. And indeed, he's the first one on the rotation.
Dzoni moving in here, does have the Bat Out of Hell available. Calvìn not level 5, so no Scarab's Blessing. StreakUp, level 5, ultimate online. Calvìn is locked down there. Good body blocking from Dzoni, unable to escape is Calvìn. And goes down for Hex Mambo. You put that first kill onto the jungler, that's exactly who you'd love it on here. As the Camazotz gets going early. Apreel channeling that Sonic Boom. Bit of a heat check there. I mean, if you're Mercury, you just on and off that Sonic Boom nonstop. Just clap.
Yeah, you gotta be clapping.
Over and over. Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta make your presence known.
1-to-1 trade here. You get it on Dzoni. You love seeing that. But, I mean, are we just going to see a rinse and repeat here over? I mean, Calvìn sure has that dash, but it's not like it's the most lengthy of dashes. And, of course, it can be body blocked as well.
There's really nowhere else for the junglers to go. If we're being completely honest, where are Dzoni and Apreel going to go? Are they going to go over to this mid lane? Oh, great. I can't wait to gank Baba Yaga so she can go into her house and throw fire at me and make me get off her lawn. That's fun. I can't wait to go gank OgiBre on the Sun Wukong. I am sure he's not just going to bull/bird form away from me and go into Somersault Cloud if he ever gets low. It's really only the dual lane that these teams can look at The Calvìn beat up by himself. Johnny's here again.
Okay, we've got the Scarab's Blessing online this time, though. Gives a little bit of movement speed, a little bit of extra juice. Calvìn able to escape. No problem there, but not much expended. I mean, sure, Cozyx dropped the Dharmic Pillar, so it's going to be support ult for support ult. And I think, Spooky, if Cozyx had dropped those pillars like an inch to the right, Calvìn gets body blocked there and just dies.
Oh, yeah. Just dies. We do see StreakUp used ultimate as well there in the lane. Was able to put Spudio very low and force the reset. That's now 2 ultimates for only 1. Going in favor of the Hex Mambo. It's just one more reason to visit the duo lane again, right? If StreakUp now only has beads for CC immunity, look, Johnny's already here!
I mean, just constant attention
It's
paid in this
Calvìn!
duel lane. And Calvin's no Scarab's Blessing from the last kick.
Oh!
Whoa! What a sonic boom out of Apreel. Johnny with not enough distance to close the gap. StreakUp over the top. Off the mark there with the Impale. No ultimate to clean up Johnny. But Spudio at least finds one. Apreel made you look, Johnny. Down goes the jungler for Hex Mambo. What an ultimate there from the Mercury to lock down the Mambo and allow Calvìn to escape.
Literally 3 people got hit by that sonic boom. And it's the only reason Calvìn is alive right now. Okay, I say the only reason. It is the only reason. Maybe if Mambo goes for StreakUp instead, that goes a little bit better. He's faster to kill, and you take out some of the damage that would be coming out of you. Instead, they're trying to put this Khepri very far behind, trying to keep him irrelevant. And really, that is the way you deal with this Khepri. You want to keep him as squishy as possible for as long as possible, so that if he's ever ulting, it's got to be on himself, and it's not finding any value. But Apreel's wise to it. He knows what's up. He knows this game is about duo pressure, and he knows that Johnny is making these repeat visits. Perfect counter gank there from him. And the split from the Tanukis was actually great. It ensured they got 2 kills instead of just the 1. They could have said, okay, we have to kill Spudio. Let's get both people on him, but they know their damage output. So they go ahead and just trust each other to solo out both their targets, and they come out ahead of that one. Slightly ahead in the gold now, pushing a slight XP lead in the Hunter role. Not quite the same in support. Across the board everywhere else, this game is looking very even. This duel lane is really the most volatile place on the map.
And you know, Spooky, when I see the damage here, as Salmon takes a good amount of damage as well. The bombs, though, onto Apreel. Chunk the jungler. Johnny up into the air. Oh, body block there from Home Sweet Home. Spells the demise for Apreel. How unfortunate. That is, that's
he said, "Let me in."
There for the Mercury. You know, there's some chitter-chatter going on in comms as the jungler for the Yomi Tanuki falls down. And the Hex Mambo are looking to capitalize on this death, immediately turning their attention to a Tier 1 tower.
Apreel was banging on the door and found it locked.
Let me in!
Pikarino. Very good from Hex Mambo there. It started off with aggression from Apreel, pulls the bees out of Sap. But the turnaround from Mambo is so good right now. And it's once again this free engagement from Johnny on this Camazotz. The Bat Out of Hell just gives you so much you can play with. And you combine that with this Ganesha as well. What does Tanuki ever do to find aggression against them? If you get Johnny down from the Bat Out of the Hell, you try aggressing, you're walking into a silence like we just saw. Tanuki now go for the Fury, secure it, but can they get out?
Pikarino loses their life as the Gold Fury goes the way of the Yomi Tanuki. Calvìn locked into place, burns the ultimate just to buy a little bit of time. Spudio picks up the double kill for themselves. Apreel grabbing some farm in the back line. The Yomi Tanuki do grab the Fury, though. Is it worth the trade of Pikarino and Calvìn?
Not really, no. You can see where things kind of spiked up for the Tanukis, and then it goes right back down for them. Hex Mambo still in control of this game. The fact that they lost the Scarab's Blessing on that as well is what really pushes this over the edge for Tanuki. If Tanuki had gotten the Fury and then walked out and only lost 2, all right, it sucks. It's not really worth, but it's closer to even. The fact that the Scarab's Blessing is now down, and we've already seen how much Johnny likes to gank this duo side, it puts the Tanukis in a really tough situation here. Now, Calvìn is rotating across the map, so he's in these other lanes. But how much value does a Khepri without ult really bring to you? Yes, you're getting a little bit of a shield. You got some extra prots, some extra prot shred. There's some CC there. But the Scarab's Blessing is what you have the Khepri around for. If he doesn't have that, you're really not all that safe. All he's got is a root for you. That's not going to do a whole lot against this team. Dzoni in particular can just ignore Calvìn as long as he has Bat Out of Hell and there's no Scarab's Blessing. Calvìn does not impact his dives whatsoever.
You know, Spooky, if I was just to like close my eyes and guess how many deaths Calvìn had, I would probably say like 4, right? So it's actually quite impressive that the Scarab has only dropped twice, as apreel is getting dropped by bombs coming out from Sap, who's got 2 items online, that passive as well, the tick damage, puts some shots into apreel, who's forced to back off. The shield buff is going to be confirmed here by the Hex Mambo. Fury down for a little while longer. Tier 1 tower already taken down in the middle lane. So Hex Mambo just TKOing the jungler for the Yomi Tanuki, opening up the door for that shield buff going the way of the Mambo.
Look
A
at the
bit of a
dive
gold
coming out
lead
as
here.
well.
About 1,500. StreakUp being forced under the Tier 1 here by Spudio. Here comes Sap, Cozyx, and Dzoni all onto StreakUp. On her with no place to go. Leaps into death. What a Scarab's Blessing there. Can Hex Mambo wait it out? Zooming through is apreel, who takes out Spudio. Sap trades out StreakUp in the meantime, but Dzoni dropping low. Dzoni with a Bat Out of Hell up into it successfully. Pikarino chucking out shots from that home sweet home. A little bit more left in the tank here from Pikarino. Goes in with the blast off. Cozyx the target. Locked down, but no stun here from Sap. And guess who's made the rotation? It's the
OgiBre.
Wukong here from the solo lane. Locking down Dzoni with no place to go.
Still
Got some
alive!
heals on the way. Got the speed buff as well. Slow down there from the Vampire Bats. And Ogi is going to drop the kill onto Dzoni.
Man, I wouldn't even call it a drop kill at that point. Dzoni is so hard to kill on this Camazotz. He's got Jotun's Wrath. He's got CDRs online. He's got a Soul Eater, not quite fully stacked, but that's extra healing coming through from an already heal-heavy god. I think OgiBre did everything he needed to do there. Pushed Dzoni away and allowed the rotation to come in onto Sap 7. Sap goes down. That is a big win for the Tanukis. He was 3-0 before this. That's a shutdown right there. Spudio in some trouble. Man, this Duel Lane just doesn't stop fighting times. Like, StreakUp just died. And mind you, when he was being collapsed on, he got the Scarab's Blessing and he went aggressive. He went forward to make sure he was there to follow up on apreel's Sonic Boom. He knows not the meaning of the word fear. It's not even in his dictionary whatsoever. StreakUp has taken the fight exactly where it needs to be taken to. Spudio, I don't think he's up really for the challenge there. Even builds, StreakUp just hits harder because of the passive.
Well, Spudio and StreakUp in that engagement, they do trade out the beads. Gonna be down for about 2 minutes here for both of these ADCs. And you know why they were trying to create pressure there, Spooky? The Gold Fury, now Primal, back online in the left lane. A lost ADC there could have really opened the door for one of these two squads to take a look at that objective. Pyromancer also on the map. Julio being looked at here by apreel and OgiBre. Getting boxed out, but I mean, this is a fight that Osiris can take. 2v1 against a Mercury and a Sun Wukong is certainly something that Julio is down to clown with. Pikarino over the wall, escaping Dzoni, Cozyx, and Sap, who immediately move into the Pyromancer pit. That thing's going to fall. I mean, Johnny's big, Sap's hitting hard. Dharmic Pillar's down as well. Calvìn has to look on as Hex Mambo secure the Pyromancer. Grab a bomb for themselves. It's going to go on the likes of Cozyx. So keep an eye on the Elephant for when the Gold Fury becomes an issue. Easy secure on the support for Hex Mambo.
Secure looks great for Hex Mambo, really across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at Home Sweet Home from Pikarino to maybe try to put some burnout. But you've got Dharmic Pillars and the Fire Bombs you're contesting against. Now Runic Bomb as well. It's tough for the Tanukis to step forward and try to steal something away. Dzoni expends the ultimate once again, just trying to put some damage out onto apreel there. Primal on the board. This could be the Tanukis' opportunity to go over that way now. They've forced a couple members back. Sap very low. And importantly, apreel now has the crit online as well.
That's a free Gold Fury. Spooky, I mean, a TKO there for 2 members of the Hex Mambo. Sap's in mid, Spudio's in left. They have vision on both. Cozyx and Dzoni are moving in here. But a free Gold Fury, Primal Fury nonetheless there for the Yomi Tanuki. Well-timed backs, or well-timed forcing backs there for the Yomi Tanuki into Hex Mambo. Secures the objective. And now the Yomi Tanuki, I mean, this is a boomerang back and forth here. Yomi Tanuki grab a slight lead.
Bladed one.
Hex Mambo, in fact, you're so right, bestie. Hex Mambo find their own advantage and go up on top. Yomi Tanuki claw back, grab an objective. Just back and forth, back and forth. This is a true game number 3. I feel like both squads grew from game 1 and game 2. They drafted the way they're comfortable. Their comps are matching their drafts, or excuse me, their compositions are matching their game plans now. And both squads are trying to execute and are both succeeding in their executions, which makes this a fairly evenly matched game.
I mean, it's like you said, this is 2 powerhouses of the EU. These teams are no slouches. This is some of the top end of the EU SCC right now, and you're seeing it in the play on field. And you're also seeing it in that both teams are giving the other respect. They know they have to make these plays in order to open things up for themselves. Apreel going in deep onto Spudio.
1 crit, 2 crit. Spudio falls low.
Blink.
Oh, what a block there from Dzoni, who stops the special delivery out of Apreel and puts the jungler in the ground. Excellent body blocks. A second time there from Dzoni. First, it's the Khepri. Now it's the Mercury. StreakUp with a leap over the wall. Now in a tough place. Channel CC immunity doing as much damage as possible here. Putting out as much as possible. StreakUp with Scared Blessing is only going to delay the death to Dzoni for a moment. 3-1 and 4. Dzoni looking great on this Camazotz for a second game in the row.
He just gets so much there. That blink was picture perfect from Dzoni. That really, the whole thing breaks off because of that blink catching the special delivery and ensuring that Apreel cannot go any further. Also pulled the beads from Apreel as well. So that's a quick 2-for-1 in favor of Dzoni. And it just cascades downward. The Mambo once again just taking another fight their way. Again, this gold lead goes slightly back in favor for the Mambo. It's, again, not enough for it to be a significant lead. It's not enough to guarantee they're winning fights. But it just goes to show the story of this game so far. This constant pendulum swinging back and forth. As the Dharmic pillars now drop. Calvìn gets locked down, blown up. That's all around a beacon. Dimes. It's all that bloodshed. Just for a beacon.
I mean, you're seeing the weakness really being exposed now for that Khepri. 1, 3, and something or another. Calvin's had some nice Scares Blessings, saved a couple of the teammates, but more often than not, that ultimate's being used on himself, or it's being used on someone who's already locked down, right? Is gonna die, respawn, and then immediately die again. 1, 3, and 3 here is Calvìn. Just unfortunate positioning, being really aggressive in the duo lane, and has kept that aggression up in the rotations in the mid lane here. But at some point, Calvin's got to step back and play, I don't know, savior, less than initiator. That's got to be the job of the Sun Wukong, who's falling low. What an there to stop the ultimate coming out and just barely into the air. Wow, the sickle nearly put OgiBre in the ground. The Somersault Cloud saves the life of the solo laner for the Yomi Tanuki. Pyromancer online. Lots of burst in the tank here for Hex Mambo. But as long as Pikarino and apreel are around, I mean, that's a crit. That's a Baba Yaga with some stacked up items. Spudio's in a bad spot here. No idea, gets looped around, immediately hops into the horse. Mounted archery. Able to get Spudio out of danger. Pikarino might be in a tight spot here as Spudio and Cozyx are looking to take out the mid laner immediately into Home Sweet Home, get some protections, dishing out those fire bolts. Apreel in the back line. I mean, look out for these big-time crits as Sap just takes out Calvìn again. This magical mid laner locking down the Khepri for the 4th death. Supporting the Yomi Tanuki looking tough here. Pikarino going to fall to the likes of Cozyx, Sap, and Dzoni. Sap raining fire from above is picking up kill after kill after kill onto the Tanuki.
Man, it's just so strange for the Tanuki. They find a victory, they get beads and an ultimate from Spudio, and they keep pushing. They try to take a little bit more. Pikarino, I don't even know why he was that far up.
Yep.
And the Mambo just constantly punish the positioning for Tanuki, the over-aggressions. And now it leads to another Fury, going the way of Mambo now. A little bit further on that gold chart. And I think the biggest key here is how quickly Calvìn is getting melted. He is 4 levels behind Cozyx in the support role. You look at his build, he has Gauntlet of Thieves and Breastplate of Valor. That's it. It's not a tanky Khepri. He's not surviving a lot. He's not a high enough level that his base stats are getting him extra bulk there. And most importantly, it's not giving him magical prods. He's not surviving this burst from sap on this Agni. He's having such a fantastic performance. 13,000 damage, almost 14, just ahead of Pikarino on the Baba Yaga. And what surprises me about these mid laners is that we're seeing a very similar build come out from both of them. We're not seeing the prophetic Baba come out where she just gets free stacks and gets free tankiness. And frankly, I feel like this is a game where she does need that. This is a dive-heavy team. She needs the survivability. Instead, she's going for the Soul Reaver. She's getting good damage out. But the problem is that she's not getting her damage off half the time. It's Dzoni who's diving down, and you can't return damage into that. It's just physically not allowed.
Right.
And the other half of the time, you're getting silenced out by Cozyx, and you're being forced up into the home sweet home very early on, sometimes before she's even being pressured by Dzoni, which just removes a huge safety tool from this Baba. Pikarino just doesn't have a lot of room to play with right now. And that's kind of true for the Tanukis across the board. They don't have nearly as much space as they're trying to play with, and is biting them consistently. They're constantly getting punished by the Mambo. And now it's leading to a 4,000 gold lead. Mambo very nicely ahead, looking to play a little bit more aggressively. But they're still centered on this left side. There's not a whole lot left here for the Mambo to really pick up. We're expecting to see some transition over to this right side. Fire Giant's got to be the next question.
Full rack of beads online here for the Hex Mambo. Calvìn and Apreel, even OgiBre, going to be unable to find that crucial initial CC to kick things off.
Oh my
Unless
god.
you burn the beads. And immediately Pikarino dropped down to a quarter HP, forced into the home sweet home. But Dzoni and Sap are going to combine to just eliminate Pikarino. Gone. Couldn't even throw out 2 of those devastating fire blasts from the home sweet home. Just caught out straight up was Pikarino. Apreel also burning the sonic boom to get out of danger. For all intents and purposes, it is 3 members here of the Yomi Tanuki. Calvìn has Scared's Blessing online, but that could easily go in the trash here if Calvìn is caught out again by Sap, who gets out of danger. Hex Mambo, meanwhile, burning the Fire Giant, successfully takes it down. Desert Fury used. That's a CC immunity tool that's going to be off the board for StreakUp. And now it's a full-on retreat here for the Yomi Tanuki. In the back line is OgiBre, looking to play Space Creator if necessary to keep the rest of the Tanuki alive.
He's not interested.
Proxy farming, why not? Try to get a little bit of extra gold, carry the rest of the team. Apreel's going to be knocked down by one of the comets falling from the sky out of SAP 7. Got a tier 1 tower down, tier 2 tower down. Firebird in the middle lane going to be the next target here for the Hex Mambo at 23 minutes. The Hex Mambo looking to take this game out early, not allow the Yomi Tanuki to put any kind of countermeasures into place. Good damage here onto Hex Mambo out of the Yomi Tanuki. Going to dissuade them from pushing forward any further onto this middle lane Bird.
I don't like a push onto Bird at 23 minutes with everyone alive for the Tanukis, only base Fire Giant and no minions around you. That's a little bit dicey. So Mambo, make the correct call. Pull back, head for the objectives that are up. They can easily take this Primal Fury. That's going to make everything else a little bit easier for them, solidify their lead that much further, and they're now 9,000 gold up from just that one little play. It was just a matter, Dimes, of catching 2 people with a Flame Wave stun, killing Pikarino, and it's just, oh, well, I guess we just get Fire Giant for free now. That's just something we have. Tanukis just fall down like dominoes after that. Mid lane wide open. I wouldn't expect them to be pushing down this mid side just yet. There's 2 tier 2s still staying on either side lane. I'd expect the Mambo maybe to do a split across the map, take both those structures down before they even think about looking at these Phoenixes. That's just easy extra gold, can quite literally just push them into a 10k gold lead from that alone. And that's really all the Mambos need to do. This gold lead getting bigger and bigger. It's having a real impact right now. The biggest impact it has is in that support role, Dimes. Cozyx, very tanky, very hard to kill right now. Calvìn, well, he does his best, is how I'll say that.
It's a push here from Hex Mambo to the left side. So look at those solo laners, 0-0-0. It's been a 4v4 game, Spooky, as the solo laners have been completely uninvolved in these team fights. At least having,
that's your prio pick there, by the way.
Yeah, right. Hex Mambo moving into the left side. Phoenix, Calvìn charging forward onto Julio. Great Sonic Boom ripping through the Hex Mambo, dishing out plenty of damage, but not a ton of follow-up here from Pikarino. It's really who you're looking at for this defense. Throwing out some of those shots out of Home Sweet Home. OgiBre now finally really getting involved in the backline immediately into the Somersault Cloud. Just to force out Hex Mambo here. It's a lot expended on the defense here so far from the Yomi Tanuki. Calvìn and StreakUp with the last two remaining ultimates for the Tanuki.
Have so much.
Sap, Dzoni, and Julio have a ton of engagement on the side of the Mambo. Calvìn gonna drop first, no surprise there, as Dzoni just deletes the support. In goes Julio, forcing out OgiBre, StreakUp, and apreel. Woo! Almost drops to a shot there from Sap. Left lane bird falls, middle lane bird gonna be soon to follow. And what more do the Yomi Tanuki have here, Spooky, defense-wise?
Not a lot. 20 seconds in, they'll have Scarab's Blessing. Right now, this looks like a foregone conclusion on the Phoenix. Now keep an eye on those Titans over on the right side. Jarming Pillars get dropped again. Not forcing the bird down, though. That's interesting. It's just a little bit of a zoning note there from the Mambo. Opting instead to play this one a little bit slow. And why not? They've got their Titan pushing up the lane. They're going to have pressure on that tier 2. Go collect a Pyromancer. Really, that Runic Bomb is just about the only thing they need to finish that bird off at this point. They're just going to reset. Go back to base with their now expendable gold. Solidify themselves as the ones ahead here. Is now the Fire Giant they're going to look at. It's not enhanced, it's just base Fire Giant when it comes up here. With the left side bird being down, Tanukis are in a tough spot for the defense. Not going to want to step too far out. And with it only being the base Fire Giant, I frankly wouldn't expect the Tanuki to put up any defense around that fire. They're 11,000 gold behind. Bird down. You just cannot afford to be caught around a Fire Giant right now. Instead, try to bolster your defenses. Get up around your Phoenix line. Just make it that much harder for the Mambo to take your base. 5-on-5 in the fire pit, 11 down. Not great. A 6v5, 11 down with that bird acting as 11th man or 6th man. That's a little bit better of a look for the Tanuki. Nonetheless, they are stepping forward.
The only issue here, Spooky, is there's no Ares on the map, so how can the Yomi Tanuki bolster defenses?
That's a good point, actually. They might actually not be able to do that. They might just have to roll over then.
Calvìn and OgiBre moving in here. Dzoni looking at apreel. It's a jungle v-jungle matchup on the left-hand side. I mean, keep your eyes on Dzoni, who's been making it happen all game long. Same thing goes for Sap. It's been a mid-jungle combination. Kicking things off here for the Hex Mambo. What are you screaming at now?
Calvìn hits the Harpy, and it stops apreel's back, so he's not there for the fire minions right now.
Unfortunate. Tough look there. As Julio's getting chunked down here, StreakUp's got some real damage online. Cozyx silencing OgiBre for just a moment here. Sap at half HP. Gonna be forced out of the fight. OgiBre is real deep in the back line. Doesn't get much off before being forced in the ultimate. And Dzoni, meanwhile, is hunting down apreel. What a fantastically timed Scarab's Blessing. Dzoni has no choice. OgiBre dropping low now, and it's gonna go down to Dzoni, combining with Spudio there. Mounted archery. StreakUp so low. Positioning tough there for the on here. Dzoni picks up a double kill. And at this point, the Hex Mambo, they don't even need Enhanced Fire Giant, but so low, Pikarino doing what they can to try to put some damage into Hex Mambo, keep them from rushing forward and just stealing away this mid lane Phoenix. The entirety of Hex Mambo now, with the eyes on the Fire Giant. Spooky. It's a 3v5 for the next 30 seconds. Left lane Phoenix down, got some damage into the Titan from fire minions. Yomi Tanuki, what is their last hope?
Tanuki just have to be able to hold around their Phoenix. They need to not fight at that Fire Giant, first of all. I mean, I don't think their plan was to fight whatsoever, but apreel's back being stopped meant that they really had no choice but to look for it here.
What's apreel doing now? Getting the shield buff while the rest of the Yomi Tanuki defend this middle lane Phoenix. And boy, oh boy, it's working. Just Pikarino is enough to stop Hex Mambo from aggressing further on the Firebird there. And once again, I mean, 28,000, second only to Sap in damage in this game. You got a full item stack there from Pikarino. And we know what kind of damage this mid lane Baba Yaga can do. Home Sweet Home can turn a fight on its head. And so far, I mean, it's allowed Yomi Tanuki to defend this middle lane Phoenix. Not only that, to restore their left lane Phoenix to life. Not a bad look here for the Tanuki.
Not the worst look, but right now, if you were looking at the builds just now, you would have seen a lot of item purchases coming through. And while a lot of those are some wards, looking at a lot of relic upgrades. You're looking at a potion of power for Julio as well here, who has also picked up the red buff for himself. So Osiris, he's going to be swinging some damage out right now. Primal Fury goes down. Tanuki in a tough spot. Right now, Pikarino has been able to put out a lot of damage for these defenses. It's a question of how many times can he do that? How many times can you get the home sweet home off without being under pressure, without being dove onto? That may very well have been the last one, because now the Mambo are fully stacked up. 4-1 split with Dzoni going the way of mid lane right now. Fire Giant around all 5 members. Expect some pressure to be put onto this Baba Yaga. That's the main thing that's keeping the Tanukis alive right now. The Mambo know it. Dzoni, all he has to do is get in the bat out of hell. He's not in this equation just yet. We'll have to see how this posturing works out for them.
My gut tells me apreel has to come up big in the backline. Has to 2-tap Sap or take out Spudio for this defense to go the way of the Yomi Tanuki. Eyes on the mid laner, eyes on the jungle here for the Tanuki as Hex Mambo moving to this left side Phoenix. Sap dishing out some of those bombs to try to create some space here for the Mambo to work into the Phoenix pit. StreakUp already using the Desert Fury just to throw some damage the way of Hex Mambo. StreakUp auto attacks. OgiBre also leading the charge here for the Yomi Tanuki in their defense. Dzoni wrapping all the way around to the mid lane. Yomi Tanuki going to have to send somebody the way of the middle lane bird to stop Dzoni from taking it for free. Dzoni just grabs the middle Phoenix for absolutely nothing. Yomi Tanuki don't engage on this left-hand side. Finally, here we go. apreel all the way, going deep now onto Sap. Julio doing damage as well. Dzoni finds one. Julio finds a second one.
Oh,
and this is
Pika.
just a completely split engagement here from the Tanuki. OgiBre going to fall. 4 down for the Tanuki. 5 as a double goes the way of Spudio. Untouched is Hex Mambo. A deicide for the Chaos Squad who can now waltz. No spooky. They can Mambo into the Titan pit. Yomi Tanuki fall 2-1. Hex Mambo on top.
That is absolutely insane to me that fight ends with Calvìn being the final member of his team. And he used the Cerberus blessing on himself.
It's been prophesized the whole game.
How do you still have the Cerberus blessing available as the last person alive on your team? Why not use it on Pikarino up there? I grant it has a range on it. It's not a global ultimate. You can't just throw it wherever you want. But StreakUp's being attacked by Dzoni in the back. Pikarino's up on the front. You got to choose one of those to try to keep alive. And I can understand the thinking of, well, if I use it on StreakUp, Dzoni just goes into the bat out of hell and waits it out and kills him anyway. Something has to be done. It cannot be used on Calvìn as the final member. Great patience from Mambo, able to just dismantle the Tanuki defense. Sap 7 on that Agni, who's just chipping damage away, constantly forcing tools out from the Tanukis. We saw him just casually force a Desert Fury out of StreakUp. Okay, well, what else can I get? Let's drop another bomb. Oh, there's his Aegis. Okay, Dzoni, have fun with that one.
Spooky, I think Hex Mambo with a statement game there still proves they are the force to be reckoned with in Europe. The Yomi Tanuki certainly can take a fight as well. That's going to wrap it up here for the Smite Challenger Circuit in Europe. Make sure to stick around for the SPL coming your way in just a little bit and more SEC action, this time in North America, later on this evening. Thank you so much for joining us for our wonderful members in production, Raptor and Phoenix. I'm Dimes. That's Spooky. We'll catch you later this evening with North America SEC. Stick around for the SPL and make sure to stay hydrated.
next.